Morning to all of you. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience. It is Friday, and I am still in Manzanillo. I don't know if you heard that I've been kind of stuck here because I blew up my car. I take full responsibility, just as I take full responsibility for everything, because it's the only way out of this seeming mess. To take full responsibility for everything that I perceive, everything that I encounter, and every time you blow up your car by accident. So I'm stuck here, but hopefully today or tomorrow, we're not sure which, I'm going to get a ride back to Ajijic with my car in tow so it can hopefully be fixed. We'll see. All I know for sure is that no matter what, this is the moment of our release into light. No matter what. This is perhaps the key to allowing that awakening to flow through us and to enlighten us. That no matter what seems to be happening out here, no matter what troubles or challenges we have, the peace of God is a light within us. It is lighting our way. It is showing us the path. But that path can only be shown or seen if we realize that it's happening no matter what. I can either be in the way or I can be out of the way. My identity, how I define myself, can be in the way or it can be out of the way. So I'm happy and content no matter what seems to be happening with cars, with anything that seems to challenge us to go deeper. In fact, it's those challenges to go deeper that are actually the greatest gifts that we have, because when things are going our way, then it's not so easy to rely completely on grace, But when we're challenged, when we have to look at it and say, no matter what, I choose love. No matter what, I choose holiness and grace and harmony. No matter what, I choose to be the whole, complete extension of the love and the loveliness of God, no matter what. So today, we're going to attempt to do something that we sort of circle around a lot. We're going to see if we can define, as if such a thing were possible, God. Who is God? What is God? What is this divine momentum that we enter into and describe and try to join with every single day? We know that coming together as we do in this moment is one of the most important things that we can do, because it helps us to keep, it buoys us, it lifts us above this egoic frame. Together, we join, and the brighter or the more concentrated the joining, the brighter the experience for each one of us. So when we come together, wholeheartedly committed to one thing, the light within each one of us begins to shine like we're E.T. Do you remember E.T.? And E.T.'s heart begins to shine. I think there was even the Care Bears might have done that. I'm sure Vicky could probably tell us more about the Care Bears more than I can. We'll see when we come to Vicky. But I do know that when we join together, as we do here every day, with this single intention, the vibrancy of that intention awakens us. The vibrancy enlightens us. It lifts us. So we keep coming back. We keep joining. We keep sharing, because there's nothing left to do other than that. There's nowhere left for us to be but right here, right now, together. So, as I said, we're going to look a bit more deeply at this thing we call God and see if we can wrap our minds around it, but that's not really it at all, is it? It's not about, maybe it's loosening our minds around it, letting go of the ways that we try to figure these things out. So, I'm going to read a little bit from the Master Teacher Within. As you know, I think it's next week, the Master Teacher Within will be coming out And we're going to be giving 10,000 copies away for free. 10,000 Kindle copies. So if you don't already have Kindle on your phone or on your laptop or your iPad, you might want to go out and get it, because this book, in my experience, is like that arrow that is shot so straight right to the bullseye. It hits the bullseye. And this is so valuable today because so many voices are calling us to go this way or to see it another way. There's only one way, and that's straight in. So from my experience, as I've fallen back into this day after day and allowed it to move through me, it really, I think, is the closest to that straight arrow to the bullseye that I've experienced. So that's why we're going to be giving away 10,000 copies, probably next week, as soon as we can get it up online. So let me read a little bit now. It says, the reality you call God, the reality that you call God, that's important, is nothing more than the constant, continuous acknowledgement of the wholeness it knows itself to be. Let me read that again. The constant, continuous acknowledgement of the wholeness it knows itself to be. That's a very interesting description of that reality that we call God. Okay, now let's go one step further. The unreality you call yourself is nothing more than the chaotic assertion of separation you believe yourself to be in relation to the wholeness of God. Wow. That may be one of the best descriptions of the ego mind I've ever heard. Once again, this is the unreality that you claim, the unreality that you believe yourself to be. Now, of course, none of us really believe that we are an unreality. That would undo everything. We want to believe that this is real, that this identity is substantial. But either one, both of these cannot be true. Only one of them can be real, as we're going to hear in a moment. But let me redo who you are. The unreality that you call yourself, nothing more than the chaotic assertion of separation that you believe yourself to be in relation to the wholeness of God, which you continually deny the wholeness of God. We don't want to hear that. That may be a bridge too far for most of us, because it doesn't seem like we're continuously denying the wholeness of God. But as long as we keep falling back into that egoic mind, as long as we keep relying upon it to tell us anything, to show us what we believe to be true, as long as we do that, we are in denial of the wholeness of the divine. Only one of these is true, since reality cannot both affirm and deny itself. Reality cannot both affirm and deny itself. You can choose what you believe to be true, but you cannot make illusions real. This is key and critical. You cannot make illusions real. This is wholly beyond your ability, and the acknowledgement of this would do you well. The acknowledgement of the fact that you cannot make dreams real. But reality is real. You can't make reality real. You can't change the reality of the totality of being that is everywhere all at once. There we go again, everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. It's happening right now, all around you. You can't change that. You can only receive that. You can only allow the experience of that to take you completely. Okay. The state of humility this acknowledgement inspires is but the first step toward being shown a world where illusions never rise to interrupt the truth. Humility. We talk about this a lot. The humility that this acknowledgement that you can't have it both ways. You cannot make an illusion real. is the first step toward being shown a world where illusions never arise to interrupt the truth. That's the truth right there. Illusions can never arise to interrupt the truth, and you are that truth. It is whole and complete within you now. Just breathe that in. Acknowledge that which has never stopped acknowledging you. You take it personally when I tell you that the identity you chose, no matter how wonderful it may seem, the life that you chose, no matter how wonderful it may seem, is in fact an interruption of truth. That's interesting. The instant you stop taking anything personally, you'll realize that you are not a person at all. This is something we have come back to over and over again. The instant you stop taking this personally, you'll realize that you're not a person at all, but the holy, perfect child of a holy, perfect creator. Doesn't that sound better? Isn't that what you really want? Isn't that what your soul is really longing for? To know that you are the holy, perfect child of a holy, perfect creator. Just relax into that. It's already relaxed into you. All you need to do now is to receive that which has forever received you, never rejected you, never turned away from you. You may seem to turn away from it, as if turning from this direction to that direction is going to change anything, because it's a whole reality. Heaven is a whole reality, and turning away doesn't change anything because it's everywhere, which is the same as saying that you are everywhere. Let me read a bit more. The ego you have chosen to identify with is the source of all pain and suffering. Your identity, the source of all pain and suffering. It is the reason you believe in separation, lack, and limitation. The ego, which is nothing more than a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, has convinced you that you are separate from the whole and must fight for your survival. This is what you've been convinced of. This is how we live out our life and the whole world, that you must fight for survival, that you're separate, isolated, alone, in need, vulnerable. None of that is true. It has convinced you that you are small and powerless, a victim of a hostile world. But in reality, you're one with this wholeness, and nothing can harm you or threaten your existence. Once again, nothing can harm you or threaten your existence. In fact, if you look at that from a different angle, which is all we do here, nothing can harm you. So nothing is nothing, right? If nothing can harm you or threaten your existence, that also is saying that everything can affirm you. Everything in the real world, everything in reality itself can affirm the truth of your existence as one with your Creator, one with everything that is, rather than separate from everything that isn't. Did you hear that? To affirm that you are one with everything that is, as opposed to what you've been told, which is that you're separate from everything that isn't. It doesn't even make any sense when you really look at it. When you really embrace it, it doesn't even make sense. But I know, because you're here, because you're with us right now, there is a part of you that is jumping for joy. There is a part of you that's lighting up right now because you feel this. You feel the affirmation of this reality within you. It cannot be any other way. And the quicker you admit that it cannot be any other way, the faster that whole experience will alight within you. So let it happen. This is the moment. This is the opportunity. You're not here by accident. This is it. Okay, a little bit more. The reality that you call God is not an external being that you must worship or please. This Zeus idea that so many of us were raised with, this old white man up on a cloud watching you. Zeus, I mean, think about it. These things go back a long way, even before the development of all these Western religious traditions. This idea of a hopefully benign God, but not always. I mean, God becomes the projection screen of our own guilt, the idea that we have of God. And so God, in many traditions, in many of our minds, is still waiting for you to do something to get the lightning bolt. Still waiting for you to fall off the wagon so we can leave you behind forever. Adios. You can't get back on once you fall off. This is the God that most of us were raised with, but it's not reality. It is not who you are. You are love. You are the holy, perfect child of God, the extension of the love and the loveliness of God that could never be left behind because there's only one thing that's happening. So once again, the reality that you call God is not an external being that you must worship and please. It's the essence of your own being, the essence of you, the source of all life and consciousness. It's the ground of your existence, the substance of your being. It's the infinite, eternal, all-encompassing presence that pervades everything and everyone. You cannot escape it or avoid it because it is what and who you are. It is what and who you are. You're ready for this. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. This is what you've been waiting for, even though you may not always realize that. But this is it. So step in. The water's perfect. You don't need to stand at the side of the pool and examine it and wonder and hope and just dive in. You can see that all of your mighty companions are already in the pool. What are you waiting for? There's nothing left to wait for. Just dive into this holy, sacred experience and know that you are one, that you are whole, that you are the holy, perfect extension of love itself. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it. And I have a feeling that Vicky's going to now just kind of wrap this up and take us to an even higher vista. So good morning, Victoria. How are you today?
Good morning, Brother James. I'm wondrous. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's Pajama Friday. And thank you for that reading. And what it made me realize and see very clearly, when you say we have to dive in, we have to do this completely, we think of critical situations where we have to either experience some kind of faith and some experience, or we have to figure things out on our own. And that way it may well be the case, or it may be ordinary everyday life that we're willing to live and find out and dive in and live from our soul and pay attention to those prompts. It may be as gentle as that. So it can come in every direction. But if love is our core and God is love, all we're being invited with every second that seems to pass, everywhere, everything, all the time, all at once, is to receive and accept the love that is what the universe is. It is what the name we call God. It's everything. And you've given us one of the best examples. When you describe how you want to listen for the answer to questions that come to your mind, and rather than even sit and relax and just meditate, you kind of go unconscious. You go blank. Alpha, beta, theta, who knows what level that might register at, but it's not a conscious level. That's an example of diving in deep into the deep end of the pool. It's no longer any of my adjustments or editing or any of that you are involved in. You're willing to let go. That's exactly what we're asked to do all day long in trauma and in ordinary things. And what came was an answer living from our soul. That's where we are. We're at the time of living from our soul. And when we live from the light of our soul, that is one with its source, God, when we live in that, the answers are evident and they become self-evident in whatever dimension, in time, in space where we find ourselves, you in front of your phone or a computer. And the answer is given in prose and poetry that lights your heart. And the best part, and I've been meaning to say this since you first said it, the natural expression of love that has come into a full expression of its oneness with God, as you do in these little writings, is the give. And what was the first thing you said? I'm going to give away 10,000 of these books, because it's impossible not to give when we come into an experience of love, a true experience, without little fences around parts of it. Any true experience it has to come through as boundless love. So, Brother James, I want to thank you for that example. It's a great example, not in trauma, but in an ordinary way, but an extraordinary response, because love is always extraordinary. And it may not look so dramatic that we may not have 10,000 books to give away, but whatever it is we have, when we touch and disencumber the veils and the identity and the roles that we seem to be playing, that all that's left is that love, and love receives. We're here to receive and then give wherever we find ourselves. So that's a great example. I want to thank you about that. And of course, in trauma, say a sickness or a relationship or something else, the same thing is true. Somewhere it's surrender, Dorothy. Somewhere it's I give up all my own modes, methods, and means. I give them up. Forget about them. Whatever those got me wasn't enough. No matter how eloquent it might be or how healthy it might seem. But when we want the wholeness of what's true, we are willing. We don't fight. We don't flight. We don't use our different means. We simply drop into this love. We drop and say, here I am. Dear God, I don't know how to find you, but you know how to find me. Here I am. I'm here and my attention is here and only on you. That's where I'm living now. And by our own direct experience, that's where that fullness, that direct contact with God comes in. We feel that love and we have to give it either. And it shows up however it shows up. The key is not to look for an outcome, whether it be health or a book to write or anything else. Look for nothing, because the fullness is in the love that's experienced in that moment of being fully part of and cared for fully. So I have to mention here a word about the Care Bears, because they are also one of the best examples of living from our soul, living from the light that we are. The piece that they got was really ahead of their times when they came out 20, 30 years ago. It wasn't that one Care Bear like the superheroes, Superman and all the different superheroes who have one superpower. Their superpower was in their joining. So the Care Bears were to save the world from the evil little boy who was frightened and became evil, because that's what fear does. But he could not be conquered or he could not be overcome with any means of the world. So they called in the Care Bears, and no one Care Bear could do it alone. It took all of the Care Bears to come together. Just it takes all of us in time and space who have willed and tried to play this game of separation to come back and say, no, I want to live under the law of love. I want to live that I am one. I bring my whole self into this. And as we join, as we do every morning here, it's a Care Bear stare to the whole sonship that, oh my God, together we're everything, that no one is excluded. Nothing is excluded. There is nothing to exclude. And in this state of love, And that's all holiness is. It's a state of feeling and receiving love, and then staring back, sharing. What the Care Bear stare is nothing but looking through illusions. And of course, the Care Bears all get together and their light comes out as a rainbow. And it's called the Care Bear stare at this little boy who's the evil one trying to take over the world. And instead, the evil one, who's the little boy that was frightened, he was just frightened. And of course, love melts fear. That's it. Love melts fear, and it melts us with us if we put down all our defenses, all of our attack plans. If we put them down, love will melt those so that only what we are already, one in creation, one with God, we are that love, becomes apparent. It comes into us, and it is buoyant, and we love one another. And all the fears in our lives and the traumas in our lives, somehow they melt away. That it looks like a miracle, but the miracle was the place where we surrendered our defenses, where we finally put them down. And then the next natural expression, just like James is giving away 1,000 books, is the gathering in of every brother and sister. Welcome to us wherever we find ourselves. They don't have to talk like we do or think like we do. Welcome is a state of mind. And we become those, we're like the divine hospitality committee of the second coming. That's what we are. We look with welcome to everyone. We're not frightened by their big drama of fear or viciousness that comes from fear. We're able, that's the Care Bear stare, to see through all that to the love that each one is. Every situation is it's already love, and the cover-ups mean nothing to us when we know we live in that, the strength and the power of love. We need to experience it ourselves to be certain in it. That's where certainty comes from. So whatever it is, say today, whatever any one of us is facing today, let go of the battle or the fixing of it or the solving of it, and drop into the love of God. However, by listening to music, by just sitting quietly, by just saying, you're all I want. I only want that. And I'm not going to let my mind wander into thinking about forms and solutions. It's not important. Whatever happens, happens. I want to live in that love that's eternal. That's how we dive into the deep end, each of us, and that's how we gain certainty. And then the last thing I want to say, I better check the time and see how we're doing. I have to say this one thing. I'm sitting in Bangor, Maine, and I'm attending the funeral of my dear cousin. He was chief of police in Bangor, not in Bangor, but one of the little towns, Holden, next door to Bangor. In a little town, you would think, kind of in just a little in the Hicks country town, but he was like what Neil was saying yesterday. Don't take things so seriously. We take the illusion much too seriously, and we take love and God not seriously enough. So he took love seriously and joy seriously and humor. He had a great sense of humor. And here he is, chief of police. Today's lessons, I'm under no laws but God's. He was the guy in charge of the laws. But it was not that he ever became known for. He touched everyone's lives, not just in this little town, in all the areas, surrounding towns. They expect over 1,000 people at his funeral today. They have the governor, the senators, everybody's in this whole state coming because he brought into expression programs that help people help each other. Care Bear stare. He didn't just make a program where one guy rescues someone else. He opened up programs of gathering brothers, gathering people, all walks of life in to recognize the value of kindness. Karen's here, Miss Kindness. He did a 25 Days of Kindness program before Christmas that activated everyone for the love of Christ and the love of God. And he did it all with humor. He wasn't known for arresting people or keeping the laws. He was known for his humor, how fun everything was to him, because somewhere in him, he was touched by the love of God. So I'm here today celebrating his life with, of course, his family, because he's young. He just got up one morning and he just dropped to the floor. He was ready to go home, mission accomplished. And I'm sure he's still of course, because we're all joined in the Care Bear stare, in or out of the body, to blast away with love all the illusions of fear and whatever trauma or whatever appearances they may take. So I'm here doing that and grateful to be part of it and grateful for all these examples of the power of love. So thanks, Brother James, for your example. Thank you, everybody. I do see Darla and Alden in the room. I hope I didn't talk too long. Here you go.
All right, well, we actually have to go. We love you, Darla Alden, and we can feel your wisdom flowing in every direction. Thank you, Vicki. Thanks for bringing us back to the Care Bear stare. I think that is, that's it right there. It's amazing that we can take this very high, vibrant information and apply it to something so childlike and beautiful, the Care Bear stare. So today and this weekend, our job is to go out and to allow that light to glow, or to let our gaze rest upon the Christ in every direction that we move, to see through that Care Bear stare as often as we can, because we know that the more we choose to see in this way, the more we realize that we are seen in this way. There's no way around it. You are the light of the world, so let your light shine. Jesus said, you don't light a fire or a lamp and put a bushel basket over it. No, you light it at the highest mountaintop so that all can see. That's what we're going to do. It's the only thing that's left to do, is to let our light shine, because the more we shine, the more that radiance attracts and blesses others. So there you have it. I love you guys. Have an amazing weekend. But before we go, we are going to say together, Amen, 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 y punto. We love you. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Love you
Beautiful.
all.
I'm on vacation next month.
Happy
Miss you.
Shining.
Bye-bye.
I love you.
Bye now.